This is a News Star 3 news break.
Hello, Brazos Valley. I'm John Bowes. Here are some of the stories the News Star 3 news team is working on for later today. A second photographer who had been trailing Princess Diana's limo is now under formal investigation. The Red Cross is raising a red flag about blood supplies, and Russian space officials are formally blaming Mir's former cosmonauts for a cargo ship collision with the space station. We'll have these stories plus your sports and weather all coming up later today on News Star 3. Coming up next on News Star 3 at 5, for another day in London, mourners have been paying their respects to Princess Diana by laying flowers outside Kensington Palace. The American public is also mourning the death of the princess, and First Lady Hillary Clinton will convey America's sorrow at Saturday's funeral. And a shooting in a crowded Miami Beach post office may be the result of domestic violence. Hello everyone, I'm John Bowes. We'll have these stories plus your sports and weather all coming your way next on News Star 3 at 5.
Closed captioning on News Star 3 is brought to you by Union Pacific Resources. Brazos Valley, this is your news. With John Bowes, Sports Director Daryl Bruffett, and meteorologist Bob French with your weather. News Star 3 at 5. This is your news.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Bowes. Thanks for joining us. The piles of flowers continue growing across Great Britain as fans of Princess Diana prepare to go to her funeral Saturday, or at least watch it on television. Meanwhile, the French justice system is moving forward with its investigation into what role, if any, 7 photographers had in her death Saturday night. Liz Mullen reports.
One by one, the 7 photographers who allegedly chased Princess Diana's car through the streets of Paris faced a French judge and took a step closer to being charged with involuntary homicide and failing to help at the scene of an accident. Eyewitness accounts of the moments immediately following the crash are chilling.
There was such a deep interest that the photographers had. They were doing the close-ups, snapping as many photographs as they could from every conceivable angle.
As I was turning around and I saw a woman with blonde hair slumped over and her face turned, and I said to my husband and my son, "Oh my God, there was a woman in the car and she must be dead."
The paparazzi that faced the French judge were placed under formal investigation. This does not necessarily mean that they're charged with any crime, but it does mean that the investigation continues. In London, mourning intensifies as the country prepares to bury its beloved princess.
It's going to be something that's going to go down in history, and she's going to be one of the most best people of the century, really.
It's a shame that only in death do we realise that someone was very special.
There are lines everywhere to sign condolence books, to leave flowers, and to file through St. James Palace to leave messages of love to Diana, whose body is lying in a private chapel there, awaiting burial on Saturday.
I wrote that all the kindness she's given to everybody, and what a lovely mother she was to her children, and what a lovely mother she was to the people's children.
The invitation-only funeral will be held at Westminster Abbey, with nearly 2,000 paying tribute to Diana. The White House confirms First Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton will attend the service. For the first time since Winston Churchill died in 1965, Harrods, the department store Dodi Al-Fayed's father owns, has dedicated a window to Dodi Al-Fayed and to the princess he loved. Liz Mullen, CBS News, London.
Meantime, mountains of flowers for Princess Diana have appeared in the States as well, as people in America express their condolences for a woman who touched them. Byron Pitts reports from Washington.
For the Queen of Hearts, a sea of sorrow an ocean away. From the sidewalk outside the British Embassy to the floor of the U.S. Senate, Washington, like the rest of the world, is in mourning.
We've been stunned by the untimely and tragic death of Diana, Princess of Wales.
The Senate opened with a special prayer. At the embassy, the prayers, the flowers never stopped. There was little mention here of how a princess died, but rather how she lived.
I feel there's something missing in the world now. She was the lady of the world with all the heart. And I'm Australian born. And she was like my princess.
Can't help but cry, because you miss, there's nobody else in the world, I don't think, who had the grace and beauty and kindness and love that she had for everybody.
The sentiment and the scene similar in New York. Outside the British consulate, more tears, more talk. of a princess loved as much for her frailties as she was for her fame. The flowers left in her honor, loaded up and delivered to hospitals in the area Diana visited while in the U.S. All across the states, people said they were sad because the world had lost a princess. Sadder still because 2 boys had lost even more. Byron Pitts, CBS News, Washington.
Well, now it's time to check the results of today's News Star 3 StarTel Speak Out poll question. We wanted to know if you think President Clinton should attend Princess Diana's funeral. And this is how you voted. It seemed like public opinion overrides protocol on this one. 78% said yes, he should, while 22% said no. We had a record number here, almost record number, 761 calls on this Speak Out poll question. We do appreciate you calling. We'll have another question for you coming up tomorrow on Brazos Valley This Morning. Well, on the same subject of protocol, President Clinton will not be attending Princess Diana's funeral. However, First Lady Hillary Clinton will attend. A White House spokesman explains since this is not an official state funeral, it's more appropriate to issue the invitation to Mrs. Clinton rather than the president. At Saturday's funeral, she'll convey the condolences of the American people to the royal family. Officials say Mrs. Clinton will attend the funeral because of her deep personal appreciation and association with Princess Diana. The 2 women shared interest in similar causes, such as breast cancer and children's issues. And in today's Street Corner Camera, Princess Diana's fame and what it entailed is the focus of Brent Montgomery's report.
With the death of Princess Diana and the paparazzi's involvement, the question raised once again is, should public figures have the same rights to privacy that the general public has?
They shouldn't have people harassing them all the time, you know, trying to get pictures. They should have to, like, I don't know, schedule appointments or something to do it.
They just have the same rights we do.
All right, or they should.
Oh, yes, yes, they should. If somebody doesn't want to be bothered, then somebody else shouldn't keep prying and messing with them all the time.
Although successful people do give away some of their privileges, that is one that should be controlled.
Whether it's the entertainment industry or whether it's political, they're doing a job for us, and that's invasion. It wasn't right what happened at all.
We sort of think of them as immortal, and I think it's really shocking that she died.
So for the first time in my tenure with Street Corner Camera, we've had a unanimous response suggesting that we give the same rights to public figures as we do to private citizens. For Street Corner Camera, I'm Brent Montgomery.
We do want to remind you that coming up at 5:30, the CBS Evening News tonight with Dan Rather, who will be reporting from London. We'll have much more on the plans for Princess Diana's funeral. Right now, we want to turn our attention to some other news that's developing. Weather. Bob French is standing by in the Weather Center. Got an active area of weather to talk about today, Bob. Certainly. Also, before you start, I want to congratulate you. Did an excellent job, MDA Telethon, this weekend.
Thank you very much. Sherry Williams and I had a great time doing it. A lot of great folks that just opened up their hearts, John. So I'm glad you brought that up one more time. And right now, on to weather, because we got a lot to talk about. Storm Tracker and Live Doppler 3 is showing thunderstorms moving into the Brazos Valley. They're moving from east to west into our area, actually kind of from northeast to southwest. And we've got some thunderstorms. We'll zoom into portions of the Brazos Valley into some of our counties in just a moment. But there are other thunderstorms around the Houston area and Galveston. One severe thunderstorm for Chambers County. That's just on the northeast side of the Galveston Bay area. Other thunderstorms extend across Beaumont into Louisiana, and still others up in the Waco area. But closer to home, let's zoom first of all into Grimes County, because we've got some fairly good showers and thunderstorms from Singleton up toward Bedice. We had a call from a viewer in Bedice just a few moments ago asking about a thunderstorm in their area. It's not severe, but you do have some locally heavy rains, some gusty winds, and some cloud-to-ground lightning up there just to the northwest of Bedice and northeast of Iola. Now, just to the north of Grimes County, up in Madison County, here's where that thunderstorm is right now. And again, you can see some of the blinking cloud-to-ground lightning strikes. Other thunderstorms up toward Normandy and Hilltop Lakes, and on up into Leon County. We go around the Hilltop Lakes area and even farther north around Centerville and up toward the Lake Limestone area. We have some showers and thunderstorms as well. Remember, all this activity is moving kind of toward the west-southwest. Finally, over into Houston County we go, and we have another thunderstorm over around the Crockett area. Fairly heavy rain up between Crockett and Grapeland, and also some cloud-to-ground lightning indicated there to the northeast of Crockett. Finally, back out on the 75-mile range, you see those thunderstorms in the Madisonville area. One other thunderstorm developed after I programmed the radar, and that one is right to the east of Lake Somerville. So we didn't get to zoom into Burleson County, but you do have one thunderstorm there just across the Brazos River from South Brazos County. Looks like in the Clay and Wilcox area in Burleson County. Again, no severe weather indicated in our area right now, but there is the possibility for some gusty winds, cloud-to-ground lightning, and maybe even some small hail and very heavy rain in these typical summertime type thunderstorms. Quick look at the satellite picture shows the patch of clouds that worked over our area this morning. Let's put it into motion. That shows the clouds that worked across our area this morning, and finally the thunderstorms building up in those clouds moving into our area this afternoon. So we started off the day cloudy, got some sunshine, that heating started building up the clouds again, and now we've got the other thunderstorms working into our area. Current temperatures, 80s over much of the state, 86 up at Amarillo. I say 90s over much of the state. 86 up at Amarillo is the cool spot. We're about the hot spot. Temperatures are in the mid-90s here in the Brazos Valley, but we're looking for things to change. A cool front is in the forecast. We'll have the details of that coming up a little bit later on, especially with the 5-day outlook at 6 o'clock. John Bose, we've got some big changes on that outlook.
All right, Bob, any of these thunderstorms developing right now, any of them plan on pushing into the Bryan-College Station area?
Yes, there's a good possibility they will. A lot of the outlying areas are experiencing those thunderstorms right now, and there's an outside chance that we could see one develop into severe characteristics, maybe strong winds or large hail. But right now, the main thing we're looking at is some heavy rain, lightning, and some gusty winds around these thunderstorms.
All right, Bob, we'll check back with you for an update in a little bit.
All right.
Thanks a lot. In other news this afternoon, Russia may find 2 of its own cosmonauts for the collision of a cargo ship with the Mir space station. A commission has concluded that the 2 were at fault, but the head of Russia's space agency says that decision is not final. However, 2 former crewmen of the Mir blame run-down equipment on the problems that have plagued the 11-year-old space station. Miami police say a postal worker shot his ex-wife and a friend today, then shot and killed himself. Details on that story when we come back.
Live Doppler 3 with Storm Tracker is brought to you in the public interest by First American Bank.
Witnesses say a postal worker opened fire in the counter area of a Miami post office earlier today, critically wounding his ex-wife and a friend. A police spokesman says as soon as the women entered, the postal worker went out the back, came around through the front door, and then opened fire as customers fled in panic. The man later killed himself. Miami police believe the shooting may have been a case of domestic violence. A fitness club in Bryan was the site of a recent burglary. Sheriff Chris Kirk gives the details in this week's Crime Stoppers report.
Sometime after 10:15 p.m. on Sunday, July 27th, thieves broke into the Arrowfoot Royal Oaks location at 4455 Carter Creek Parkway in Bryan. The thieves found their way into the club through an unlocked utility door, then crawled through the ceiling into the manager's office. Finding a pair of bolt cutters and the keys to the building, the thieves proceeded to cut open or unlock lockers and storage areas. The burglars stole some items from the lockers and maliciously ransacked the facility, throwing weight equipment through mirrors and discharging fire extinguishers. Damages and losses are estimated to be over $2,000. Bryan police detectives believe that the thieves were familiar with the club's operations and had planned their attack.
It's our belief that possibly more than one person committed this burglary and that they have possibly bragged or told somebody about this.
These vandals and thieves obviously knew something about this facility and may have even lived in the area. If you have information that could help catch them, call Crime Stoppers at 775-TIPS. You don't give your name when you call Crime Stoppers, and you could earn a cash reward. For News Star 3 and Crime Stoppers, I'm Sheriff Chris Kirk.
There's some good news to report in the fight against one form of muscular dystrophy. Details in Health Scene. Hello, Brazos Valley. I'm Laura Cornett with a look at your medical news. Many varieties of X-Lax are being removed from store shelves. The Food and Drug Administration has moved to ban a cheap ingredient of the laxative. The FDA suspects the chemical may cause cancer in some people. High doses of the drugs have caused various cancers in animals. Novartis, the manufacturer of X-Lax, has announced that it will remove the chemical from its product and then introduce a new X-Lax within the next 60 days. Meantime, a new gene therapy technique for tracking muscle cells shows that the attempts to treat Duchenne dystrophy, one of the many forms of MD, may work better than doctors first thought. The therapy involves injecting immature muscle cells from healthy donors, which will then incorporate their DNA into the patient's disease cells. The trial method could help improve other gene therapy techniques like finding the treatments to prevent cancer and heart disease. That's a look at your St. Joseph Health Scene report. I'm Laura Cornett.
Thank you, Laura. Don't go away. Darrell Bruff is going to be talking about the Aggies' home opener against the Sam Houston Bearcats when he comes back. And Bob's going to talk about some weather, some cooler weather for that game. Stay with us. Darrell Bruffett's here with Sports Aggies' first home opener of the season coming up this Saturday against our alma mater, Darrell, Sam Houston Bearcats.
John, I've been trying to play that kind of low-keyed, but you've kind of let the cat out of the bag. Yes, the Aggies and the Bearcats Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock over at Kyle Field. The Aggies will be playing in their opener. Sam Houston State trying to get their first win of the year and also trying to get their first win ever against the Texas Aggies. Tonight at 6 o'clock in sports, we will hear from, well, we consider him the fourth person in our sports department, Jim Norris from the Redmond Terrace Barbershop. Of course, he has the ear of the Brazos Valley, and he'll have another question for R.C. Slocum in our annual Ask the Coach segment. Also at 6 o'clock in sports, we'll talk about Nate Newton, the Dallas Cowboy, who has been released of charges. No charges have been pressed against him from a Dallas County grand jury concerning sexual assault. We'll also talk about some high school football. The Huntsville Hornets in the spotlight tonight. Our Hometown Heroes segment continues, and of course the high school football season kicks off Friday night. We'll have more on that coming up tonight at 6 o'clock in sports, John.
Great. Thank you, Darrell.
Sure.
Well, you know, it seems like just in time for football season. We've got the Aggies playing this weekend. We've got high school football starting this weekend. And we just may have some football weather. Bob French is standing by in the Weather Center to tell us about a cool front headed our way. Hi, Bob.
Hi, John. Yep, we've got a cold front on the way, but it won't be here till tomorrow. Now, we think that front will give us a good chance of thunderstorms, but even before the front, we've already got showers and thunderstorms working into the area. A quick look at live Doppler 3 and Storm Tracker. No rain right on top of Bryan College Station, but just south of Welborn, right along the Brazos River, southwest of Welborn, we have one thunderstorm. Cloud-to-ground lightning strike just on the east side of the river. That was heard in College Station. Had a couple of calls about that, but no rain right over Bryan College Station just yet. Other thunderstorms from around Iola and beat ice up toward Madisonville, also in the Normandy area. And currently in the Brazos Valley, we have mostly cloudy skies with scattered thunderstorms. It's 96 at Easterwood Airport, so it's still hot. That heat feeding those thunderstorms. Dew point 64, humidity at 35%, variable winds and pressures falling. Our forecast for this evening, scattered thunderstorms, low of 73 degrees. There's a slim possibility that one of those thunderstorms could become heavy. We could possibly see some strong winds, so we'll monitor live Doppler 3 for any signs of severe weather. Right now, no severe thunderstorms threatening the area, but we're getting some good, well-deserved rains.
All right, much-needed rains. Thank you,
Bob. And more
Bob.
on that cold front at 6.
Yeah, I'd like to hear more about it. Thanks a lot. Well, would you like to see the Mir space station up close? Coming up, a visit to the once secret Star City in Russia. But first, a look at today's stocks. The market closed up 257.78.
On tonight's CBS Evening News from London, details of the formal investigation ordered now in France. Were photographers responsible for Diana's death? A wave of anger building here in Britain against the Queen. Bounty hunters for Mexicans make a mistake in the USA, and one of America's most wanted has been caught. I'll see you soon from London.
Here's some of the stories coming up in about 30 minutes on the Evening Report. Students from the class of 2000 are now in their sophomore year. At 6 o'clock, we'll visit with some of these students to see how their high school career is moving along. Also tonight, Southwest Parkway is getting a facelift. The entire process is expected to take a year to complete. We'll tell you what the plans are for that. Where Bob French has a look at your weather, and Darrell Bruffett talks with R.C. Slocum in his weekly press conference coming up tonight at 6 o'clock. Finally, reports about the troubled Mir space station are everywhere in the news these days, but Mike Sanford takes us to a place where you can tour a replica of the Mir and see the inner working of the Russian space system.
In Soviet times, few places were more mysterious than Star City, the training ground for Soviet cosmonauts, about an hour outside of Moscow. But the government is no longer trying to keep Westerners away. Instead, it's one of the many attractions open to tourists in the new Russia. It's officially called the Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center, named after the first man in space, Yuri Gagarin. Here you can walk where he walked and see where he and hundreds of other cosmonauts trained.
Impressions which American visitors gain here is very, very high. It's very positive. They can see people here, people working and living here.
Russia's space program has been hit hard by budget cuts, spending less than a tenth of their American counterparts. And Star City is showing signs of neglect.
The economic situation in our country is very difficult. 95% of our space program is for peaceful purposes. That's why we want to advertise ourselves.
The center is still active. You may get lucky and be able to walk right up to cosmonauts training for work on the Soyuz space program. You can tour a full-scale Mir replica and other training facilities like this huge centrifuge. It can create a force 10 times the gravity of Earth, not for the faint of heart. Other exhibits display items the cosmonauts take into orbit, including less than appetizing Russian space food. Visits to Star City require permission, so it's best to make plans with a tour operator before you go. Admission is around $50. Reporting from Star City in Russia, I'm Mike Sanford.
We're out of time. The news continues next. Dan Rather live from London for the CBS Evening News. Good night.